In the previous episode, we left off with the full group of pilgrims officially assembled. They continued their journey to an uninhabited mountain range, where Tom Tung's stomach began to growl. He sent Sun Wukong to get him some vegetarian food. While Sun Wukong was off, he accidentally alerted the local demon, Bai Guojing. Bai Guojing came to observe and spotted Tom Tong. She planned to swoop in and capture him, but upon seeing that Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng were still around, she decided against it. Instead, she disguised herself as a beautiful young woman and approached Tom Tong with some delicious-looking poisoned rice. Zhu Bajie was immediately enchanted by Bai Guojing's story, which was 99.9% fabricated. While Bai Guojing continued to try and get Tom Tong to eat, Sun Wukong returned with a pile of peaches. With his sharp eyes, Sun Wukong immediately noticed the demon's presence and smashed her with his staff. Tam Tang demanded an explanation, and Sun Wukong revealed that the demon had disguised herself as a hot girl. Once he killed her, the rice turned into maggots. Zhu Bajie tried to defend her, claiming that the monkey had killed her and used magic to cover up his actions. Enraged, Tom Tong chanted a spell to make Sun Wukong apologize. The group continued on their journey after burying the innocent girl. However, Bai Guojing had managed to escape before the staff strike and began plotting to eliminate Sun Wukong in order to capture Tom Tong more easily. She disguised herself as an old woman and approached the group, asking if they had seen the beautiful young girl who had appeared not long ago. Before she could finish, Sun Wukong immediately pulled out his staff and struck her down. Once again, Tam Tang became furious and demanded Sun Wukong leave. Sun Wukong told him to take off his golden band if he wanted him to leave. Tom Tong didn't know how to remove the band, so he reluctantly allowed Sun Wukong to stay. Soon after, an innocent old man approached the group, asking if they had seen his wife and daughter. Without hesitation, Sun Wukong struck him down too. This time, Bai Guojing died for real, but Tam Tong, enraged, officially expelled Sun Wukong from the group. Sun Wukong, surprisingly polite yet still aggressive, said goodbye to his master and warned Sha Seng not to trust the pig too much. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice that Tom Tong became extremely gullible during this part. Well done, Tong Seng. When Sun Wukong returned to Huaguo Mountain, he found it in ruins. It turned out that after Sun Wukong was sealed away, Erlang Shen had burned the entire place down for fun. The remaining monkeys were being hunted daily by a group of hunters. Sun Wukong decided to take decisive action when the hunters showed up again. Before we return to Tom Tong and his companions, let's take a moment to reflect on this ancient story. Many of Sun Wukong's actions, if placed in a modern context, would carry deep significance. After being exiled and losing his purpose, it's clear that Sun Wukong was emotionally unstable, leading to intense anger, excessive partying, and more. We must remember that Journey to the West is an allegory, and Sun Wukong represents the mind. He abandoned everything he was doing, which was escorting Tom Tang to fetch the scriptures, essentially going through an existential crisis, and the story conveys that perfectly. This is a part of life that we will all face at least once. The characters' reactions are so real because they represent the human mind. Their actions mirror how we act, and it's something we can all relate to. Now back to Tom Tong and the group. They entered a pine forest and immediately things went south. Zhu Bajie couldn't find any food for Tom Tong, so he decided to rest by the roadside. When Sha Seng went to look for him, Tom Tong entered a nearby temple to burn incense, accidentally waking a demon called Huang Bao Guai, who immediately captured him. When Sha Seng found Zhu Bajie and realized Tom Tong was missing, they quickly went to the temple and discovered it was a demon's lair. Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng fought with the demon, but were at an impasse. Meanwhile, in the lair, Tam Tang was getting lucky. It turned out that Huang Bao Guai's wife was a kidnapped princess named Bai Hua Tu, who was willing to help Tom Tong if he would deliver a message to her family. Tom Tong agreed and Bai Hua Tu released him. She also convinced her husband to stop fighting. Tom Tong and his companions hurried west and soon arrived at the kingdom of Baoxiang. Tom Tong delivered the letter to the king, who was grateful to finally know his daughter's whereabouts, but saddened that they couldn't launch a rescue mission. At this point, Tom Tong took charge and asked his disciples who was better at fighting demons. Zhu Bajie boasted of his strength and convinced the king that he could defeat Huang Bao Guai, despite losing last time. However, in the rematch, Zhu Bajie was still defeated and had to flee. Sha Seng was left behind and captured. Huang Bao Guai deduced that Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng had returned, because Bai Hua Tu had secretly delivered the letter. He began questioning his wife, but she denied everything. When he asked Sha Seng also denied it. So Huang Baoguai gave up on killing Sha Seng and decided to visit his father-in-law first. However, before he arrived, he transformed into something more presentable and went to the king, claiming to have encountered the princess being threatened by a tiger demon. He saved her and married her. Huang Baoguai cast a spell, making everyone see Tam Tong as a tiger, and that was all the evidence the king needed to imprison Tam Tong. The situation was dire. Sha Seng was captured, Zhu Bajie was in hiding, and Sun Wukong didn't care about anything. Who would save Tam Tong now? That's right, it was finally time for the horse to shine. The horse transformed back into a dragon and scouted the palace, discovering that Huang Baoguai had revealed his true form and was feasting on servants and drinking wine. The dragon turned into a beautiful young woman and entered the room, performed some magic and sang for the demon. Then she asked to dance with a sword. While the demon was distracted, she revealed herself and began to fight. However, the demon was still tough. The horse was injured in the leg and had to transform back into a horse to escape and rest. Fortunately, Zhu Bajie returned and found a way to rescue Sha Seng but got scolded by the horse for causing trouble. Zhu Bajie decided to pack up and return home to his wife, but the horse was in one of its moods and wouldn't let the pig go, insisting he apologized to Sun Wukong for help. Thus, Zhu Bajie reluctantly flew to Huaguo Mountain to seek Sun Wukong. But when Sun Wukong asked how things were, Zhu Bajie claimed everything was fine and that Tam Tong was just missing him. Sun Wukong didn't rush and invited Zhu Bajie to stay for a few days. Zhu Bajie stayed and tried to persuade Sun Wukong to return without revealing the truth. But Sun Wukong firmly refused, eventually driving Zhu Bajie away. Finally, Zhu Bajie admitted the truth and tried to persuade Sun Wukong to help. Sun Wukong flew to the demon's lair, kidnapped the two children to exchange for Sha Seng. When Bai Hua Tu released Sha Seng, Sun Wukong told her to escape with the princess and the children, while he transformed into the princess and waited in the lair for the demon to return. Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng released the children at the demon's lair. Huang Baoguai, still drunk, didn't want to fight and decided to check if the children were really his. When he returned to the lair, he saw Bai Hua Tu mourning for the children. Finally, Huang Baoguai grew angry and attacked Sun Wukong. But when Sun Wukong landed the final blow, the demon immediately vanished. Sun Wukong searched the area but couldn't find the demon, which meant it was likely a celestial spirit and couldn't be found on Earth. It turned out that the demon was the star Kue Mok Lang, part of the 28 mansions in the sky. Bai Hua Tu was a celestial incense offering, and the two had run away to Earth to be together. The incident was over, and Bai Hua Tu returned to explain everything to the king. Tam Tong was released, and the group continued their journey westward. The next obstacle was a giant mountain. Tam Tang had a bad feeling and sent Zhu Bajie to scout ahead. Sun Wukong, not trusting him, transformed into a fly to follow. As soon as they were far enough away, Zhu Bajie decided to sleep. Sun Wukong woke him up with a fire to his face, only to hear Zhu Bajie ranting about how the giant demon was scary and how they should head home. But Sun Wukong had heard it all, so when they returned, Zhu Bajie had to go back and scout again. Unfortunately for the pig, the giant demon was real, and Zhu Bajie was caught by a small band of demons led by the two brothers, Jin Jiao and Yin Jiao. These demons had obviously heard about Tam Tang, so one of them recognized Zhu Bajie and gave him a beating before capturing him. On the other side, Tam Tang began to worry as Zhu Bajie had been gone for too long. Even though Sun Wukong reassured him that Zhu Bajie would return as soon as he saw trouble, Tam Tang still felt uneasy, sensing that Jin Jiao was watching them. Tam Tang, with his observation haki or whatever, felt it and started to get more anxious. Sun Wukong, seeing his master uneasy, started to dance with his staff to cheer him up. But when Jin Jiao, observing from a distance, saw how Sun Wukong was acting, he decided the first thing he should do was get rid of this monkey. So Jin Jiao transformed into an old Taoist priest with a broken leg and limped over to Tam Tang. Feeling pity, Tam Tang offered to help and ordered Sun Wukong to carry the old man. To Tam Tang's surprise, Sun Wukong agreed cheerfully, but this was just to get out of his master's sight before dealing with the demon. Jin Jiao immediately realized what was happening, called his brother, and they dropped 3 giant mountains on top of Sun Wukong. How the mountains managed to hold down Sun Wukong, I'm not sure, but soon after, the rest of the group, except for Sun Wukong, was captured by the demons. Fortunately, the local mountain gods recognized Sun Wukong and freed him. Just as this happened, 2 small demons were sent to finish off Sun Wukong. Noticing a strange glow coming from them, Sun Wukong asked the mountain gods and learned that they were holding 2 treasures from Jin Jiao and Yin Jiao, 5 in total. Sun Wukong decided that saving his master could wait, and he was going to loot the treasures first. He transformed into a Taoist priest and approached the 2 little demons, learning that they were carrying a gourd and a flask. The 2 treasures worked similarly. When someone called a name and the person responded, they would be sucked in and disappear. Sun Wukong said, "I have a gourd that can suck in the entire sky. Want to trade?" In reality, Sun Wukong had already prearranged this with the Jade Emperor. Whenever Sun Wukong signaled, they would block out the sky with dark clouds. So Sun Wukong tricked the demons into exchanging their treasures, but of course they didn't work as advertised. Luckily, when reporting back, Jin Jiao and Yin Jiao didn't get angry and kill the 2 little demons. Instead, they sent them to invite their mother for dinner. This mother also had a treasure, a golden rope. Sun Wukong overheard this and made plans to steal it. He ambushed the 2 little demons, killed them, then shapeshifted into them to meet the mother. He killed her as well, transformed into her, and went to meet the 2 children. At this point, Zhu Baji realized who Sun Wukong was and laughed hysterically. Then another little demon arrived, saying they had found the mother's body. Sun Wukong was exposed and had to fight. He pulled out the mother's golden rope, intending to use it, but forgot to ask how to use it, so it backfired. He was then bound by a spell from Yin Jiao. The demons tried to kill Sun Wukong, but, as expected, they failed. They simply took the treasures and dragged the bound Sun Wukong back. But Sun Wukong created a clone, leaving a copy behind to be tied up while he transformed into a demon henchman. He snuck away, looted the golden rope, and disappeared without being noticed. Sun Wukong still wanted the other 2 treasures, so he returned and knocked on the door, claiming to be Jia Xing Tuan, the younger brother of the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. It sounds ridiculous, but even though he used a fake name, he was still sucked into the gourd by Yin Jiao. Luckily, Sun Wukong had been forged in the furnace of the 8 trigrams, so he didn't disappear. When Yin Jiao opened the gourd to see if he had vanished, Sun Wukong transformed into a fly and flew out, then switched the gourd with a fake one. That's the theme of this part of the story: sneaky action. Sun Wukong returned and introduced himself as the real Sun Wukong. Yin Jiao tried to suck him into the gourd again, but he noticed that the gourd was identical to his own. The 2 began to compare their gourds, and clearly Sun Wukong's worked, while Yin Jiao's did not. Yin Jiao was sucked into his own gourd and nearly disappeared because, unlike the monkey, he wasn't immortal. When Jin Jiao learned of Yin Jiao's death, he was heartbroken. Zhu Bajie casually said, "All the monkeys who come here are the same idiots." This made Jin Jiao even angrier, and he ordered Zhu Bajie to be roasted alive. Then, he took out the last 2 treasures, a sword and a fan, to prepare for a showdown with Sun Wukong. Jin Jiao led his soldiers to face the monkey and immediately attacked without a word. The fan was able to create fire, so it overwhelmed Sun Wukong, forcing him to create a clone and leave it behind. The real Sun Wukong snuck into the cave, stole Jin Jiao's flask, and disappeared. Jin Jiao lamented the loss of his mother, brother, and 3 treasures. But it turned out that there was a 4th treasure. While Jin Jiao was sleeping, Sun Wukong snuck in and stole the fan. When Jin Jiao woke up and fought again, he was finally defeated by Sun Wukong. Jin Jiao had to flee, and Sun Wukong saved the group. They took a few moments to rest and praised Sun Wukong for not only being a good fighter but also knowing how to steal. Kim Jiao flew to his mother's house and gathered the group of monsters again. Kim Jiao's uncle also showed up to avenge his sister, along with a group of other demons. The 2 groups joined forces and marched toward the monkey. Sun Wukong spotted them from afar and immediately informed Tang Senzang. He and Zhu Baji went out to meet the enemy. Sun Wukong fought with Kim Jiao while Zhu Baji fought with his uncle. Xiaoseng also joined in by dealing with the smaller monsters. Zhu Bajie managed to kill the uncle, which frightened Kim Jiao and caused him to flee. Sun Wukong quickly pulled out his gourd and called, "Kim Jiao!" Kim Jiao, thinking his men were calling him, answered and was immediately sucked into the gourd, disappearing. Sun Wukong looted the final treasure and the group was ready to return. However, they encountered Laozi. It turned out that all of the treasures belonged to him, and he demanded them back. Kim Jiao and Yin Jiao were actually Laozi's lab assistants, and Guan Yin had just outsourced the task to them. As for why Kim Jiao and Yin Jiao had a monster mother and uncle, that's unclear. Regardless, Laozi restored them to their original forms, reclaimed the treasures, and left. As soon as they left this mountain, they arrived at another one, where a huge red cloud erupted, immediately turning into a fireball. Naturally, only Sun Wukong saw it, but by now the group had learned to trust his judgment. When Sun Wukong told Tang Senzang to dismount and prepare to fight, no one objected. However, the demon realized it had been exposed and quickly retreated. The group continued moving, trying to get past the mountain as quickly as possible, but the demon didn't vanish. Instead, it played a trick. It transformed into a skinny child, tied up and hung from a tree, and began shouting for help. When the group arrived, the child introduced himself as Hong Hai Ni, saying his father had been killed, his mother was captured, and he was left hanging here. Tang Senzang ordered Zhu Bajie to rescue Hong Hai Ni, but Sun Wukong tried to stop him. Instead, Tang Senzang insisted that Sun Wukong carry the child. At first, the child was light, but then Hong Hai Ni used a spell to make Sun Wukong uncomfortable. This caused Sun Wukong to threaten to drop him. Hong Hai Ni, thinking it was the right moment, transformed into a massive whirlwind, sweeping Tang Senzang away. Sun Wukong, frustrated, told them to divide the luggage and go. Zhu Bajie remarked that it was about time this happened. Unexpectedly, Sha Seng delivered a moving speech about redemption and second chances, so touching that Zhu Bajie decided to stay. Sun Wukong then set off to find where Hong Hai Ni was hiding Tang Senzang. After searching around for a while and finding nothing, Sun Wukong had to call on the mountain gods for help. They revealed that Hong Hai Ni was so frightening that no one dared to stay near him. He was the leader of the mountain, extorting protection money from the mountain gods, even though they had no money to pay. Hong Hai Ni was the son of the Bull Demon King, but had been sent to a La Sa demon to learn the use of fire. He had trained to the point where he could use the 3 fires of immortality, and was stationed at this mountain with his headquarters in the Fire Cloud Cave. Upon hearing that Hong Hai Ni was the Bull Demon King's son, Sun Wukong was excited, as he and the Bull Demon King were sworn brothers. Sun Wukong considered himself like an uncle to Hong Hai Ni. Sun Wukong thought that by talking to Hong Hai Ni, he would release Tang Senzang, but Hong Hai Ni charged straight into battle. Zhu Bajie watched the fight, which seemed evenly matched, and waited for the right moment to strike. Hong Hai Ni, enraged, punched himself in the face twice to activate the 3 fires of immortality, causing fires to spread everywhere. Sun Wukong tried to find Hong Hai Ni through the smoke, but he had disappeared. The 3 brothers sat together, brainstorming a strategy. Sha Seng suggested that Hong Hai Ni's physical fighting skills were weak, so they needed to focus on putting out the fire. Sun Wukong flew to the East Sea to ask the Dragon Kings for help. After some formalities, the Jade Emperor agreed to create a storm to assist Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong returned and challenged Hong Hai Ni again. After some fighting, Hong Hai Ni summoned the 3 fires of immortality again. The dragon army began to pour rain down, but they couldn't put out the fire, which grew even stronger. They even ambushed Sun Wukong, shooting smoke into his eyes, blinding him. Previously, it seemed that Sun Wukong could withstand fire, but this was a different level of fire, the 3 fires of immortality. Sun Wukong was overheated and had to fly to a nearby river. The dragon army, panicking, sought help from Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng. At this point, it's crucial to note that they referred to Sun Wukong as the Heavenly General and the Great General, not by his nickname. Sha Seng fished Sun Wukong out, who appeared to be near death. Zhu Bajie pushed Sha Seng aside and revived Sun Wukong with a few slaps on the back. Though Sun Wukong woke up, he was disoriented both physically and mentally. The truth was, Sun Wukong couldn't solve the problem with Hong Hai Ni on his own, and as always, when things got tough, Guan Yin was called for help. Unfortunately, Wukong was too weak to go, so Bajie had to go in his place. However, Hong Hai Ni noticed that Bajie was heading toward Avalokiteshvara and decided to disguise himself as Avalokiteshvara to block Bajie's path. He told Bajie that Hong Hai Ni was very persuasive, so Bajie agreed to try talking with him. But Bajie fell right into the trap and was captured as a prisoner. Wukong started to have a bad feeling about Bajie, so he decided to sneak into the cave to see what was going on. He found Bajie tied up, but before he could rescue him, he heard Hong Hai Ni talking about inviting the Great King over for dinner. Wukong guessed that Hong Hai Ni was talking about the Bull Demon King, and decided to disguise himself as an old friend to block the path of the demons. He returned to the cave with them. Hong Hai Ni proudly told Wukong that he had captured Tam Tung, But Wukong just casually said that they should wait before cooking him, as he was on a vegetarian diet. Hong Hai Ni found it odd since the Bull Demon King never ate vegetarian and asked if Wukong knew his own birthday. That's when the cover was blown. Wukong, unable to fight, fled. Wukong decided to go to Avalokiteshvara himself. When he explained the situation, Avalokiteshvara remained calm until she learned that Hong Hai Ni had disguised himself as her. She flew into a rage and threw her vase into the sea, then asked Wukong to retrieve it. She kept throwing the vase back into the water each time Wukong retrieved it. Eventually, when Wukong could no longer lift the vase, he realized Avalokiteshvara had been filling it with seawater. She told him to take the vase back and extinguish the flames, but Wukong couldn't carry it anymore. Since Avalokiteshvara didn't trust Wukong to be with any of her people, she had no choice but to go with him. Upon reaching the mountain, Avalokiteshvara called all the mountain gods to evacuate all creatures within 300 miles, then poured the water from the vase to create a vast sea. She then instructed Wukong to lure Hong Hai Ni to the location. Wukong broke into Hong Hai Ni's home, taunting him and daring him to catch him. He managed to lure the kid to Avalokiteshvara. Hong Hai Ni wasn't afraid and declared that today was a good day to fight the Bodhisattva. He grabbed his spear and charged at her, but Avalokiteshvara simply disappeared. Hong Hai Ni, thinking she had fled, celebrated his victory for a while before sitting down on Avalokiteshvara's signature lotus platform. Avalokiteshvara reappeared and turned the lotus platform into its true form, which was a seat made entirely of swords like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. Hong Hai Ni was pierced by the swords and stuck to the platform. He begged for mercy and offered to serve Avalokiteshvara as a beast of burden. Avalokiteshvara transformed the swords into something else and healed Hong Hai Ni. But as soon as he was healed, Hong Hai Ni attacked again. Unfazed, Avalokiteshvara threw a golden ring that wrapped around Hong Hai Ni's neck, wrists, and ankles. Wukong, recognizing the situation, laughed out loud. Avalokiteshvara chanted a spell, and Hong Hai Ni writhed in pain like never before, forced to completely submit to Avalokiteshvara. After that, Wukong returned to rescue his master, and they continued their journey. Will Tam Tang ever break the cycle of constant captures? How will the story end? Stay tuned for the next video of Journey to the West.